Here's the headline. A Trump dictatorship is increasingly inevitable. We should stop pretending. That's an opinion piece by Washington Post editor-at-large Robert Kagan. He continues, will those who balked at resisting Trump when the risk was merely political oblivion suddenly discover their courage when the cost might be the ruin of oneself and one's family? We are closer to that point today than we have ever been, yet we continue to drift toward dictatorship, still hoping for some intervention that will allow us to escape the consequences of our collective cowardice, our complacent, willful ignorance, and above all, our lack of any deep commitment to liberal democracy. Kagan's editorial is part of a series of alarms that are nearing a crescendo ahead of the 2024 election. Judge Michael Luttig, one of the most prominent conservative voices that has risen in opposition to Donald Trump, is arguing that it's not too late. He is leading the American Bar Association's Task Force for American Democracy, alongside Jeh Johnson, President Obama's Secretary of Homeland Security. And the goal here is to outline meaningful steps that can be taken to preserve and protect our democratic institutions. Joining me now is Jeh Johnson, former Secretary of Homeland Security under President Obama, now co-chair of the ABA's Task Force for American Democracy. Secretary Johnson, thank you for joining me for what I hope could be somewhat positive, optimistic, or at least uplifting conversation.
Yes.
First,
thanks for having me, Alex.
Thank you for coming on the set. First, tell me about the fact that the American Bar Association is getting involved in an effort to preserve democracy. What, legally speaking, can and should be done ahead of the next election?
First of all, it's not just the ABA. It's state bar associations who have thrown in with us. And the task force that we have assembled are not just lawyers. They're historians, they're people ranging from Mark Morial, the head of the Urban League, to Bill Kristol, the conservative commentator, all concerned about the future of our democracy. Our task force is underway. We're due to deliver a report in August of 2024, just before the election, that will make recommendations both long-term and short-term. But in the meantime, what we've been doing is trying to reiterate around the country the importance of a democracy. We're concerned that Americans, many Americans, have lost sight of the value of a democratic nation as opposed to an autocracy. We're losing sight of the virtues of having a voice in selecting your leaders.
Beyond sort of the obvious, it would be better to live in a democracy than an autocracy. I mean, how do you make Americans reprioritize something that it seems we've taken for granted as a nation?
Well, we have taken it for granted. And, you know, when I see things like the editorial you read, I'm reminded of what Martin Luther King used to always say. Our generation will have to repent not just for the bad people, but for the good people who knew better, who stood by in silence and enabled it and let it happen. And there are far too many in Congress, there are far too many in political life who are allowing, frankly, Donald Trump to get the nomination and come perilously close to a second term as president. And as you know, those on this show previous to me keep saying, this time around the guardrails will be off. There'll be no John Kelly, who succeeded me as DHS secretary. There'll be no Jim Mattis, who was Secretary of Defense. There'll be no Dan Coats, because they won't want to serve and Trump won't want them to serve. Stephen Miller will assemble a team that, first of all, can't get Senate confirmation, but will be appointed in acting roles.
So they don't have to have Senate confirmation.
He's reportedly vetting people already to be general counsel of the Department of Defense, my old job before I was DHS secretary, and general counsel of DHS. Those are two positions, legal positions, that matter to trying to effectuate the type of government that Donald Trump seems to want. I
got to ask you, as you bring up your position serving under President Obama, how secure do you believe the next election will be, both in terms of domestic interference or uprising and also international interference? Because if I'm Russia and I'm looking, I mean, they're busy, granted, with the war in Ukraine. But if I look at how fractured the American public is, the way in which social media is entertaining, if not platforming, lies, including and especially X, I feel like it's a moment that's ripe for anyone who wants to mess around with American democracy.
Two answers. One, I have a lot of confidence in our election infrastructure.
Right.
Polling places, reporting of election results. There are those who have challenged it, but I have a lot of confidence. And you look at the 2020 election in the midst of COVID, we had this huge, huge turnout. The great unknown is, as you point out, social media and the extent to which foreign or domestic actors may infiltrate social media with fake news, alarmist attitudes, extremist views. That's the great unknown. In our democracy, free speech, our free society is both our greatest virtue and our greatest weakness. And so it's going to be incumbent upon people like yourself and others to continually be truth tellers to the American public. Those of us who have a voice, those of us who command a microphone, have to continually, and I learned in Washington, you have to repeat things 18 times before anybody will listen to you. We have to continually point out the falsehoods, point out the fake news. So many Americans now are prone to believing fiction, bad fiction, evil fiction, because they read it on social media and they don't scrutinize, they don't fact check, they just accept it wholesale. That's a dangerous place to be right now.
You have to do the work. I got to ask you before we go, the courts.
Yes.
I know you're a man with a legal background.
Yes.
And how confident are you in that part of the system holding? It was critical in 2020, and yet you look at what's happening right now with Judge Cannon down in dealing with the Mar-a-Lago documents case, Judge Chutkan dealing with the federal election interference case, a study in contrasts, two potentially very different outcomes for the same defendant. Are you confident that the court system, that the center there will hold?
I'll answer it this way. I believe that our judiciary could be the last best hope in terms of a branch of government that saves our democracy. The courts thus far, at the district court level, the appellate level, and even at the level of the Supreme Court, I believe, have stood up for our democracy, our democratic norms, our Constitution. And at the end of the day, they may be the ones that step in and save us. Traditionally, the courts have deferred to the executive branch of government. They've deferred on immigration enforcement and policy. They've deferred on issues of national security and how we spend our money. But in my observation, as the judiciary sees the executive branch overreaching and the legislative branch sitting back polarized, they've become more involved in areas where they traditionally have not been involved because it's a political question or because it's national security. We defer to the military. The judiciary is getting more and more involved. So a lot of these controversial policies that we hear are being contemplated in a possible Trump administration, I'm sure there's going to be litigation over each and every one of them. And very often the result depends upon the venue.
Yep.
Where you go and which judge is selected to hear the case.
And a skilled team of lawyers, says a man who's part of the ABA's task force. Secretary Jeh Johnson, thank you for your time. Thank you for your words of mostly uplift and reminding us that the work needs to be done and we are all part of the project.